Take anything that you're doing in your life, be it work or a creative project or something that is charity based or really anything, and dig down and ask yourself, why? When I say ask yourself why, I don't mean in this kind of nihilistic view of why bother. I mean more like why, as in, what are my actual motivations for doing the things that I do? Why do they occur? Why am I engaged in this activity? What is pushing me forward? And I think that question is really important to answer for you to have some kind of a sense of fulfillment in whatever it is that you're doing. This question came up a while ago, and this exercise came up a while ago when I was running my karate school. And I read this book, and I believe the book was called Start With Why. I don't know, I can't recall off the top of my head who the author was, but it was an excellent book. For a business perspective, it was a great book because it said to ask why in order to connect with other people and connect your business to other people. And it was a very impactful read for me because it was just a perspective on something that I hadn't considered. The idea is to dig down to why and look at a company like Apple. Say what you want about Apple, but they have people that are very big fans. I'm one of them. I use Apple products all the time, and for a long time I didn't. And a lot of times people stick with that ecosystem for, certain reasons. And whatever it is, they're just great fans of Apple and they stay with the products. And even though they have a phone that was released, I don't know, like 3 months ago, there's a new phone out and it's got 9 more cameras on it. And so we're just going to go buy that one. I don't really understand it, but I might buy one too. I don't know. Answering the question why and starting with why as per your motivations is really important to drill down to the reason that you do something that provides fulfillment for you as a human being. It is true that money will not buy happiness. It does buy things that can make you happy, but it doesn't buy the actual happiness. There is a fulfillment element involved, and you need to get something out of what you're doing, and your motivations need to be on point for that. And if they're not, no matter what you do and what you replace your day with and your minutes with and whatever you trade your time for is not going to bring you enough joy. You're always going to be seeking something else. That can lead to a lot of toxic stuff for you. So I was talking with a writing friend of mine, and I was explaining, a lot of this goes back to the whole imposter syndrome thing and everything else. I was explaining why I was just having a hard time moving the story along and why I was procrastinating and, why I was stuck on a certain plot point. I'm like, man, I'm really, really struggling. And they said, okay, ask yourself why like 5 times. Every time you answer it, ask why again. Ask why is that and what is the reason for it. So I wanted to share with you some of my answers because I did this in just a written form to some of these questions. So the first one was, why do you think what you're writing is not working right now? I was stuck at a particular point in my work in progress where I couldn't even get like a word out because I just wasn't sure of what I was doing. Was it okay? Was it not the right plot, or was it not the right path through the story? And so the first question was, well, why do you feel like this, like you're struggling with identifying this particular point? And I guess, why don't you think this is working? My answer to this question, I've got some stuff written down, so bear with me, was I'm not sure what I am writing is working because I don't know if the reader will get my meanings and the messages that I'm trying to convey through story. Straightforward enough. I was unsure if a reader would get it because it seems really close for me, and I don't know if it would feel that way for them. So the next question is, why am I wondering that? Well, I'm wondering that because I don't know if I'm being too subtle about imagery, emotion, feeling, and characters, or if I'm establishing the emotions with the characters as deeply as I feel them when I'm thinking through the story. For me, this is a big deal because I write up here. Yes, I put words down on the page, but I've already decided what to put down in here. The story's in here. I can see it like a movie. I just have to describe it well and add the dialogue and some of the flourishes and maybe change a thing or two here. But it's already played out fully from start to finish, and it's just a matter of getting it down. Now, in my head, it's awesome. But I feel like there is an issue getting it from my brain to still be awesome by the time it goes through my shoulders and comes out of my hands and gets to a keyboard. So the next why I had to ask was, why don't I think readers might get the message that I'm trying to establish? And so my answer to this one, well, because what if I'm using too much exposition? What if my world building is what if I'm being too verbose in the way I'm describing things? What if I'm repeating myself too much? What if the characters that resonate with me, as far as their experiences, do not resonate with readers? Again, a legitimate concern. So why am I thinking that? And we go deeper down the rabbit hole here. So I started cutting to the chase. This is the point where you start asking why, where you really start to dig into your own psychology. And my answer to this one, just writing this stuff on the fly, was because I don't know if I'm skilled enough to communicate those feelings and emotions through written word. Now, I wrote this stuff quickly when I got to the end of this whole thing, and then it's like, well, that answer is actually quite telling. I don't know if I'm skilled enough to communicate those feelings and emotions through written word. So the answer is why? Why is that? And then for me, my answer to this one is, I suppose, because I haven't written anything of true substance to completion since I was in high school, really. So as much as this is what I want to do, I feel like that practice gap is going to be very obvious to a reader, and perhaps I would be perceived as an amateur or a fraud or whatever. Now it really is digging down. I went from asking why and talking about characters and messages and what I'm thinking and exposition and all this kind of stuff, to now the why is answering really what the deep-seated fear is for me. And this does lead up to the whole imposter syndrome thing, where I'm thinking I'm not talented enough to do this thing. Part of thinking this way is kind of like an internal armor. You think to yourself, okay, if I'm super private, and I am, it gives me a shield. So when I'm talking to somebody and they say, well, I don't like that guy, and they're talking about me, or I think his creative work is crap, or I think his business is crap, or whatever, I can have the excuse of, well, they don't really know who I am. They don't know me, and that can just roll off my shoulders, and I'm good to go. But if I do pour everything out into my work, and then I am rejected, I don't have that armor, and I don't have that safety. And that's really troubling, and that, I think, prevents a lot of us from doing the things that we truly think we would love to do, and putting it out in the world, because we're afraid that we're going to be rejected on a level of exactly who we are. And, well, that's a terrible feeling. I think the way to get around that is to try and measure and remember your successes, and to be humble. I'm in front of you doing these YouTube videos, and I'm talking about being an INFJ and writing. I have never written a book, and I've always been an INFJ, but I am certainly no clinical psychologist or anything like that. I'm no expert in any way. So, I think staying humble about it and saying, look, this is my experience, and I hope it helps you, is something that helps me get through this and be able to do this without worrying too much about the critics that may come. So I just wanted this video out there as a reminder to you to ask yourself why, and really dig down into the motivations, whether it's something like writing or whether it's something like your business or what have you. Keep asking why. Why am I doing this thing? Why? What is the reason? And dig down. And if your reason is just, well, I want money, you're not digging far enough, or your motivation is totally off. Because when I think about why I'm writing, that's not the reason, because that can't be the reason. Anyway, I hope you have some success with this, and try it. 5 whys. Ask yourself why 5 times, and dig down to the real reason that you're doing something, and write it down and be honest with yourself. Don't be afraid to put those words down. You don't have to share them with anybody like I did. It's a little nerve-wracking. But hopefully it gets you to the heart of your motivations for doing things, and stay motivated and keep doing it, and try to continually move forward on it. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you on the next video.